Imagine standing at the threshold of a quiet house at the edge of a small village. The sun is dipping low, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. The air is still, yet heavy with the invisible currents of desire, ambition, and longing. This house, ordinary as it seems, holds a story that mirrors the world outside, the world within, and the delicate dance of the heart. Inside, a father walks through his home, his footsteps echoing softly against the wooden floors. He is a man of means, but his eyes carry a weight, an awareness that the wealth he has accumulated, the comforts he provides, cannot shield his family from the quiet storm of their own minds. He has two sons, each bright, spirited, and eager to carve their place in the world. Yet beneath their laughter and energy, a subtle tension hums almost imperceptibly, like a string pulled tight. This is not just a story about a father and his sons. It is a reflection, a mirror held up to all of us. How often do we chase after more, believing that happiness lies just beyond our reach? How often do we measure our worth by what we possess or what we can acquire? In this home, as in countless hearts, these questions linger, waiting to be noticed. The elder son is careful, ambitious, always calculating, always planning. He sees opportunity and immediately thinks, how can this benefit me? The younger son is impulsive, chasing pleasures and thrills with the reckless abandon of youth, unaware of the subtle chains that bind him. And the father, patient yet profoundly aware, watches, not with judgment but with a deep understanding of the human heart. He knows that greed in all its forms is not simply a craving for wealth. It is a hunger of the mind, a restlessness that cannot be sated by possessions, recognition, or fleeting successes. There is a quiet lesson here, a doorway through which we are invited to step. It is the doorway to self-reflection, to seeing clearly the ways our desires shape our choices and our suffering. Every human being carries this tension. Every human heart wrestles with longing and dissatisfaction. And in the stillness of this house, in the gentle light of an evening sun, we are invited to pause, to watch, to consider. What do we truly seek? And what is it that we may be blind to, even in our pursuit of what seems necessary, urgent, or vital? Before we meet the father and his two sons in their daily lives, their arguments, their mistakes, their awakenings, let us linger in this threshold. Notice the restlessness within your own mind. Feel the tug of desire and the weight of expectation. And just for a moment, breathe and recognize that this story is not just theirs. It is ours. Each action, each choice, each flicker of greed or kindness resonates in ways we may not immediately see. This is the doorway, and stepping through it requires nothing but attention and honesty. It requires a willingness to witness the impulses that rise and fall like waves within us. And it invites us to ask, gently, without urgency, how does the heart become free? How do we learn to see without clinging, to live without grasping, to walk a path that honors both our humanity and the stillness beneath it? As we step quietly into the lives of the father and his sons, let us carry this reflection with us. For in their story, in the unfolding of their desires, mistakes, and insights, there lies a mirror of our own journey. And in the quiet spaces between their words and actions, we may just begin to recognize the lessons that have always been waiting for us. The Father's house is filled with warmth, the soft hum of daily life, and the quiet sense of order that comes from years of effort. Yet beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect home, there lies a subtle pattern, a pattern that shapes the hearts and minds of his two sons. This is the legacy he has unknowingly passed down, a legacy not of objects or wealth, but of desire. From the earliest days, the father worked tirelessly to provide for his family. His fields were fertile, his trade was successful, and his home was a place of comfort. He gave his sons everything he could: education, opportunities, and the freedom to choose their own paths. And yet, in giving them so much, he also planted the seeds of longing. For the elder son, the lessons were clear. The world rewards the clever, the ambitious, and the persistent. Every success, every reward, reinforced the idea that one must strive relentlessly, that comfort and recognition are the markers of a life well lived. The father, without intention, taught him to measure worth by achievement, and in doing so, fanned the first sparks of desire that would one day blaze into greed. The younger son, in contrast, inherited a subtler lesson. Observing his father's diligence and the prosperity it produced, he learned that happiness seems to come from external sources, from wealth, from admiration, from the thrill of acquisition. While the elder son internalized ambition as duty, the younger absorbed the notion that joy is fleeting and must be chased, never fully contained. Every gift, every indulgence, every small success fed an inner hunger that knew no boundaries. And yet, the father himself was unaware of the invisible threads he wove. He believed in nurturing potential, in fostering growth. He thought he was giving his sons the keys to a meaningful life. But in the quiet moments of reflection, in the spaces between chores and conversations, the seeds of desire began to sprout. Desire, subtle at first, is like water seeping into the soil of the mind. It nourishes growth, but if left unchecked, it can also become a weed, entwining the heart, pulling one toward restlessness and suffering. It is here, in these formative years, that the foundation for the son's future conflicts is laid. The elder son watches the world through a lens of calculation and comparison, measuring what he has against what he does not. The younger son flits through life chasing immediate satisfaction, unaware that each pursuit leaves him emptier than before. And the father, loving yet human, cannot see the full scope of what he has set in motion. This is where the story reflects a universal truth. The world we create for others, our children, our friends, even ourselves, shapes more than the present moment. It shapes character, choice, and destiny. The values we model, the priorities we demonstrate, and the subtle approvals we offer all leave impressions that guide future actions, long after the intentions have faded. In Buddhism, we call this karma, the patterns of cause and effect that ripple through life, often unseen yet profoundly felt. As the sons grow, the tension between abundance and longing begins to surface. Small arguments over possessions, fleeting jealousy, and the quiet comparisons of one to the other are not mere childhood quarrels. They are the first shoots of something far more potent, the craving that leads to conflict, the attachment that blinds the heart. Each moment of desire, unchecked, accumulates like a drop of water forming a river, shaping the landscape of their lives in ways that will become undeniable. And the father, he continues to act from love and responsibility, unaware that the very love he pours out also teaches lessons of desire. In trying to provide everything, he models a subtle message, that fulfillment can be found in accumulation, that security comes from more, that happiness is measured externally. These are lessons both gentle and dangerous, like seeds scattered across fertile soil, some to grow into wisdom, others into greed. It is here, in this quiet tension between care and consequence, that the story begins to unfold. The sons, guided by invisible currents, are on paths shaped by what they have inherited. Yet, even as desire takes root, there is hope. Within the father's patience, within his quiet presence, there exists the potential for guidance, not through admonition, but through awareness, teaching the sons to see the true source of satisfaction, beyond fleeting gains or material rewards. And so, as the sun rises and sets over their household, the seeds of desire quietly take hold, setting the stage for choices that will test not just wealth or cleverness, but the heart itself. For it is here, in the subtle interplay of inheritance, intention, and human nature, that the lessons of life, both ordinary and profound, begin to reveal themselves. In the quiet moments of observation, one begins to understand desire is not evil in itself. It is a mirror reflecting the gaps within us, the unfulfilled longings we carry. The father's legacy is neither curse nor blessing, it is a canvas. And how the sons paint upon it, whether with greed or insight, will determine the shape of their journey, the weight of their suffering, and the clarity of their hearts. As the household hums with life, the first tensions stir beneath the surface, subtle, almost imperceptible, but enough to hint at the challenges and awakenings to come. It is a reminder that every choice, every impulse, every moment of indulgence or restraint carries significance. The seeds are planted, the soil is ready, and the story waits quietly for the first shoots to emerge. The elder son moves through life with careful steps, as if each choice were a calculation, each action a measure of his worth. In the quiet corners of his mind, a subtle tension hums, a restless whisper that tells him he is never quite enough. He observes his younger brother, the neighbors, even strangers passing through the village, and in each glance he finds comparison. What they have, what they achieve, the recognition they receive, it all becomes a yardstick, silently measuring him, silently urging him to reach further, grasp harder. This longing is more than ambition. It is a desire unchecked, a fire that burns quietly beneath the surface, feeding on attention, validation, and the illusion that satisfaction lies just ahead. And the elder son does not yet see the cost. He does not yet understand that this quiet yearning, when left to its own devices, can grow into greed, not of possessions alone, but of recognition, of control, of the sense of being superior. In the house where the father walks with quiet awareness, the elder son carries this internal unrest. Each conversation, each task, each moment of silence becomes a reflection of what he lacks or believes he lacks. He excels in his work, he follows the rules, he demonstrates diligence and intelligence. And yet the mind whispers, "Is this enough? Are you enough?" This is the nature of unchecked desire, subtle, seductive, and relentless. In Buddhism, we learn that craving is not always obvious. It is not always loud or disruptive. Often it wears the mask of ambition, diligence, or responsibility. It can appear virtuous, even praiseworthy. But beneath the surface, it stirs restlessness, dissatisfaction, and a subtle form of suffering that is nearly invisible, until it begins to dictate decisions, coloring every thought, shading every relationship. The elder son begins to notice his own envy, even if he cannot yet name it. He watches the younger son receive attention, seemingly carefree, and a quiet flame of resentment flickers. Why does he get to enjoy life so freely? The mind asks. Why must I work so hard just to achieve what he receives without effort? The answer is neither simple nor external. It is within the mind, hidden beneath layers of expectation, comparison, and subtle craving. The father, observing quietly, knows this dance of the mind well. He has seen it in his own heart, and he has seen it in countless others. Yet he allows the elder son to experience these stirrings, for it is only through awareness, through the encounter with desire and its consequences, that true understanding can arise. The path of wisdom begins with observation, noticing the subtle movements of the mind, the way craving shapes perception, and the ways in which the heart clings to what it believes it cannot live without. The elder son's longing manifests in many ways: a desire for approval from the father, a wish to outshine his younger brother, an urge to secure more than is necessary for comfort. Each moment of indulgence, each thought of more, reinforces the unseen chains of attachment. And yet, within this tension lies the potential for insight. The same awareness that observes longing can also illuminate its futility. The same mind that compares can also recognize the impermanence of what it chases. It is here, in the quiet struggles of a young man's heart, that the story reflects a universal truth. Unchecked desire, no matter how seemingly harmless or justified, has the power to distort perception, to obscure wisdom, and to perpetuate suffering. The elder son's path is one of learning that fulfillment does not come from accumulation, that recognition is fleeting, that peace is found not in comparison but in presence, not in grasping but in release. And so, the stage is set. The elder son moves through the world with eagerness, with intelligence, and with the quiet fire of longing burning within him. Every encounter, every choice, every fleeting success becomes a test of awareness. Will he recognize the subtle chains that bind him? Or will the fire of desire grow unchecked, shaping his life in ways he cannot yet imagine? In these early stirrings of ambition and envy, we see the delicate interplay between human nature and the seeds planted by family, society, and circumstance. The elder son's longing is not his fault, it is human. but it is his responsibility to observe, to understand, and to transform. For in this awareness lies the first glimmer of freedom, the recognition that craving, when seen clearly, can no longer control the heart so completely. And as he walks through the house, as he completes his tasks with care and diligence, as he watches the younger son with both affection and subtle rivalry, the elder son steps quietly into a journey of self-discovery, a journey that will reveal the costs of desire, the nature of attachment, and the path toward insight. In the silence of his own mind, he begins, unknowingly, to confront a truth that will shape the course of his life. That fulfillment is never found in what we possess, but in the clarity with which we see, the kindness we extend, and the freedom we cultivate within. And in this quiet unfolding, the story moves forward, carrying with it the subtle, powerful lessons that will soon test both sons in ways they have never imagined. While the elder son moves with calculation, the younger son moves with impulse, a spirit carried by the wind, untethered and eager. Life to him is a series of opportunities to grasp pleasure, amusement, or adventure before it slips away. He laughs easily, chases whims, and indulges without hesitation. But beneath the lightheartedness, a subtle emptiness pulses, a gap that no amount of indulgence can truly fill. The younger son's folly is not in seeking joy. It is in believing that joy can be found externally, in fleeting moments, possessions, or recognition. Each impulse becomes a small anchor of attachment, each distraction a thread binding him to restlessness. The father's lessons, though offered with love, often pass unnoticed. Rules are suggestions. Guidance is a background hum. He moves quickly, following desire rather than discernment, unaware of the consequences that lie ahead. This impulsiveness manifests in countless ways, rushing into ventures without thought, indulging in luxuries beyond measure, and pursuing admiration as if it were nourishment for the soul. The younger son's life is like a river in flood, swift, forceful, exhilarating, but also unsteady, capable of sweeping him toward unseen dangers. And yet in his heart he does not recognize the peril. Ignorance is a subtle teacher, masking itself as freedom, and he takes its lessons for truth. In the quiet moments, the elder son observes him and feels a mix of envy and frustration. Why is he so careless, so bold, so unaware of what he risks? Yet deep down, even he cannot deny the allure of such freedom, the charm of living without overthinking, of seizing every moment. Here, the story mirrors a timeless truth. Impulse can seduce even the cautious heart, and the mind that lacks reflection will always dance with desire. Beneath this restless pursuit lies a deeper pattern, one that Buddhism calls avijja, or ignorance. Not stupidity, not lack of knowledge in a conventional sense, but a misunderstanding of the true nature of life. The younger son perceives permanence where there is impermanence, satisfaction where there is fleeting pleasure, and identity where there is only the continuous flow of experiences. He clings to the illusion that happiness is outside, that it can be captured, hoarded, or controlled. And yet there is beauty in his folly. There is raw vitality, a willingness to experience fully, a refusal to settle for half-hearted living. But unbridled, it becomes dangerous, a path that leads to suffering not from malice, but from misunderstanding the heart's deepest needs. Every indulgence, every misstep, and every fleeting triumph feeds the subtle fire of attachment, much like the elder son's longing, but manifesting in action rather than calculation. The father, observing, does not scold. He knows that chastisement alone cannot awaken wisdom. What is needed is awareness, the kind that comes from consequence, reflection, and insight. He watches as the younger son chases the next thrill, hoping, perhaps silently, that life itself will reveal the lessons that words cannot. And indeed, life has a way of teaching even the most carefree souls, of showing the gap between fleeting pleasure and lasting contentment. The younger son's folly also illuminates a universal truth. Ignorance is not merely a lack of information. It is a misalignment of perception, a blindness to cause and effect, a failure to see the long-term consequences of short-term choices. In this way, the story mirrors the lives of countless people caught in the currents of desire, believing that indulgence equals freedom, unaware that it can just as easily bind and blind. Yet even in this folly, there is the seed of potential. Each misstep, each moment of recklessness is an opportunity for insight. When the consequences arrive, loss, disappointment, tension, the young heart may finally pause, and reflection begins. For the path of understanding often requires living fully, making mistakes, and witnessing the ripples of one's actions. Only then does the mind start to see the subtle chains that have long directed its course. And so, while the elder son's struggle is internal, quiet, and measured, the younger son's struggle is active, visible, and loud. Yet both are bound by the same thread: desire, unexamined and unchecked. One is shaped by calculation and comparison, the other by impulse and indulgence. Both paths will test the sons, both paths will challenge the heart, and both paths will, eventually, point toward the same truth: that lasting freedom and contentment cannot be grasped. They can only be realized through awareness, reflection, and the gentle cultivation of wisdom. As the younger son moves through each day, chasing pleasure and excitement, the story unfolds naturally toward its next moments of tension and revelation. Each action he takes, each choice he makes, adds to the invisible ledger of cause and effect. And in the spaces between laughter and indulgence, consequence and insight quietly await, a lesson in the subtle power of desire, the fragility of impulse, and the inevitable call of understanding. As the days pass in the Father's house, the invisible currents of desire begin to ripple visibly. The elder son, with his careful calculation and quiet longing, and the younger son, with his impulsive pursuit of pleasure, find themselves on paths that converge, collide, and sometimes explode. Their differences, once subtle, are now unmistakable, like two rivers meeting with force, creating turbulence that cannot be ignored. It begins with small things: a glance at a prized possession, a casual remark about fairness, a misinterpreted word. Yet these small sparks ignite a larger fire. The elder son, ever mindful of comparison, begins to feel resentment. Why does he take so freely? He asks, his heart tightening. The younger son, unaware of the depth of his brother's discontent, continues in his impulsive ways, chasing amusement and indulgence, oblivious to the quiet judgment simmering nearby. Greed, subtle or blatant, is a masterful divider. It transforms ordinary interactions into contests of possession, recognition, and power. The brothers' laughter turns tense, their conversations threaded with unspoken competition. Even the father notices the shift, a shadow across the bright surface of family life, but he does not intervene hastily. Wisdom knows that lessons cannot always be taught through admonition. Some must be lived, experienced, and felt deeply. In the elder son, greed manifests as a desire to assert superiority, to claim what he believes is rightly his, to be recognized as the more capable, more deserving, more accomplished. In the younger son, greed is less visible but no less potent. A desire to satisfy every whim, to seize every fleeting pleasure, and to enjoy what comes without effort or reflection. Both forms are rooted in the same human tendency: to grasp, to cling, to believe that fulfillment lies in the accumulation of external gains rather than the cultivation of inner clarity. The clash escalates: a heated argument over inheritance, a disagreement about responsibility, a subtle slight perceived as insult. Each moment becomes a test of character, of awareness, and of the capacity to respond rather than react. The father, observing quietly, sees not only the surface conflict but the undercurrents of attachment, comparison, and pride that fuel it. He knows the lesson is coming, as inevitable as the setting sun, and that both sons must encounter it fully if they are ever to understand. This is the power of greed. It blinds, it isolates, it turns love into rivalry and presence into competition. The brothers, once bound by familial affection, now find themselves at odds, each measuring the other's worth against his own. And yet, even in the tension, there is an opportunity, a chance for insight, for reflection, for awakening. The clash is not merely destructive. It is a mirror held up to the heart, revealing the patterns that have guided their desires, the attachments that have fueled their dissatisfaction. In Buddhism, we understand this as the manifestation of craving and attachment. It is not merely about material possessions. It is about the subtle ways the mind clings to what it believes defines value, security, or identity. Each argument, each moment of envy, each fleeting triumph or defeat carries a lesson about the impermanence of all things, the futility of grasping, and the path to freedom that lies in letting go. The Father steps into the scene only when necessary, not to scold, but to guide. His words, measured and calm, cut through the heat of emotion like a quiet breeze through a storm. He reminds them, not of rules, but of principles, that life's true wealth is not counted in coins or possessions, but in awareness, compassion, and understanding. The elder son feels the pull of humility. The younger son begins, ever so subtly, to glimpse the emptiness behind his impulsive pursuits. Yet the lessons are not immediate, nor are they easy. Greed has a way of clouding perception, of twisting reality to fit desire. Each brother must experience the consequences, feel the sting of attachment, and recognize the ways in which desire has shaped their choices. Only then can understanding arise, like a light piercing through fog, illuminating the heart's hidden corners. The household, once harmonious in its routine, now hums with tension, teaching a universal truth. Unchecked desire, whether measured and calculated or impulsive and reckless, inevitably leads to conflict. It disrupts relationships, distorts perception, and magnifies suffering. But the same conflict, when faced with awareness, reflection, and guidance, holds the potential for transformation. As the brothers confront one another, as anger, envy, and frustration rise and fall like waves, the story reaches a critical moment. Their clash is not just a quarrel over material things. It is a reflection of the human heart, a stage on which the consequences of craving and attachment are laid bare. And it is here, in the turbulence, that the possibility of insight begins to whisper, waiting for ears that are willing to listen and hearts that are ready to see. The ripple effects are subtle yet profound. Each choice, each reaction, each grasp, and each release shapes not only the present but the future. The elder son begins to feel the weight of his own ambition, the younger son the emptiness of his impulsiveness. And the father, steady and patient, watches, knowing that the seeds planted long ago are now sprouting into lessons that neither argument nor indulgence could ever replace. In the tension, we see the mirror of our own lives, the moments when desire overtakes reason, when attachment clouds judgment, when the heart is pulled between what it wants and what it truly needs. And yet, as the storm of conflict rages quietly within this household, there is hope. For awareness, once born from experience, can illuminate the path forward, guiding the mind from grasping to understanding, from turbulence to clarity, from conflict to insight. The household, once filled with the hum of routine and quiet ambition, now holds a new tension, a silence that presses gently against the walls, urging introspection. The clash between the elder and younger son has reached a point where laughter no longer masks unease, where indulgence no longer satisfies, and where desire begins to reveal its hidden cost. The seeds planted long ago by the Father's love and oversight have grown into shoots of awareness, waiting for the light of insight to awaken them. It is in these quiet, almost imperceptible moments that realization begins. The elder son, who once measured life through comparison and calculation, starts to notice the futility of his pursuit. Each victory feels hollow. Each advantage over his brother carries a shadow of discontent. He sees, perhaps for the first time, that grasping, striving, and comparing have not brought him closer to peace. They have only intensified the restlessness in his heart. The younger son, impulsive and carefree, encounters a different yet equally revealing truth. Moments of indulgence, once thrilling, now feel empty. The pleasures that once sparkled brightly in his mind fade quickly, leaving a quiet ache of dissatisfaction. Each chase, each impulsive decision, becomes a reflection of the impermanence of all things, how easily joy slips away, how fleeting recognition is, and how shallow the illusions of satisfaction can be. This is the turning point, a moment when the mind begins to see clearly, when the illusions that once guided behavior start to dissolve. In Buddhist terms, this is the first glimmer of sunyata, or emptiness, not emptiness as nothingness, but the recognition of the impermanent, interconnected, and insubstantial nature of all things. Desire, attachment, and craving are seen for what they are: temporary, fragile, and incapable of providing lasting fulfillment. The Father, observing quietly, does not intervene with words or reprimand. He knows that awakening must arise from experience, not from lecture. He watches as both sons confront the consequences of their actions, the elder son feeling the weight of unrelenting ambition, the younger son tasting the hollowness of unchecked indulgence. Each begins to glimpse the same truth, that suffering is not caused by what they lack, but by the grasping mind that refuses to see what is already present. It is a subtle, profound shift. The elder son, once driven by comparison, begins to understand that true value cannot be measured externally. The younger son, once lost in impulse, begins to recognize that fleeting pleasure cannot fill the emptiness within. Both feel the quiet stirrings of insight, a recognition that clinging leads to suffering, that attachment distorts perception, and that freedom comes not from acquisition, but from letting go. The consequences they face are not dramatic disasters, but gentle, persistent nudges of reality. A lost opportunity, a moment of envy, a fleeting regret. Each serves as a mirror reflecting the nature of craving and the limitations of desire. The mind, confronted with these subtle truths, begins to awaken, slowly peeling away layers of ignorance that have long dictated behavior. This is the essence of realization, the understanding that the external world, with all its allure and temptation, cannot satisfy the longing for wholeness. Wholeness arises from within, from awareness, from the ability to witness desire without being consumed by it. It is the recognition that all things are transient, all pleasures fleeting, and all possessions impermanent. And in this awareness, the heart begins to open, not to renunciation in the extreme, but to clarity, discernment, and the possibility of freedom. The turning point is also deeply personal. The elder son feels a quiet humility, a softening of the rigid structures he has imposed upon himself. The younger son feels a subtle restraint, a pause in the impulsive flow of action that once defined him. Both are beginning to see that the paths they have taken, calculated striving and reckless indulgence, have led not to fulfillment, but to recognition of their own attachment and suffering. And in this shared awakening, a bond begins to re-emerge. Though they had clashed, competed, and envied one another, the recognition of shared vulnerability and human longing brings a quiet sense of empathy. Each sees in the other a reflection of their own desires, their own ignorance, and their own capacity for growth. It is a moment when conflict gives way to insight, when turbulence begins to settle, and when the heart starts to recognize the possibility of liberation. This is the heart of the turning point, the realization that desire and attachment, while natural, need not control the mind. Awareness can illuminate the subtle currents of craving, reflection can temper impulsiveness, and insight can guide action. The sons begin to glimpse a truth that is timeless and universal. Freedom arises not from the world around us, but from the clarity and discipline of the mind within. In the quiet that follows, life continues. The household, still filled with warmth and activity, now carries a new rhythm, a rhythm shaped by reflection, by recognition, and by the first glimmers of wisdom. The sons, once driven by longing and impulse, are beginning to awaken to the impermanent nature of their desires and to the possibilities of mindful choice. And as the sun casts long shadows across the house, the story gently unfolds toward the next stage. The Father, with patience and compassion, will guide them further, not by taking away the lessons they must learn, but by illuminating the path of insight, reminding them of the deeper values that sustain a life of clarity, compassion, and freedom. The air in the house feels different now. The subtle tension of competition and restlessness has not vanished entirely, but it has shifted, softened by the quiet stirrings of awareness. The father, ever observant, senses this change. He has watched his sons navigate desire, impulse, and conflict, and now he steps gently into their lives, not to reprimand, not to control, but to illuminate the path forward. The elder son, still carrying the residue of longing and envy, meets his father's gaze and feels something unfamiliar, a sense of patience, of understanding, not judgment. The younger son, restless as ever, feels a calm presence that does not demand, does not chase, does not criticize. The father embodies something neither son can yet articulate, but both recognize intuitively: a wisdom grounded in experience, a love that sees beyond behavior, and a compassion that accepts imperfection while guiding toward growth. This is the heart of true guidance, not imposing lessons but creating space for insight. The father speaks softly with words that carry weight, not through authority but through clarity. Life, he says, offers many treasures, but not all are meant to fill the heart. Some wealth is fleeting, some pleasure is temporary, and some victories bring only shadow. Watch closely and learn which treasures truly sustain you. The elder son listens, absorbing the subtle truth. His ambition, once a source of tension and comparison, now begins to feel the gentle pressure of reflection. The father's words do not condemn, they illuminate. He does not say, "Stop striving," but rather, "See clearly what you strive for and understand why." In this way, awareness begins to replace compulsion, insight softens grasping, and the seeds of wisdom are nurtured. The younger son, meanwhile, feels the calm undercurrent of guidance. His impulsive tendencies, once unchecked, are met with steady presence rather than censure. The father's patience becomes a mirror, reflecting the consequences of indulgence without imposing shame. Pleasure is not wrong, the father explains, but the mind that clings to it will always thirst. Observe, and you will see the difference between passing delight and lasting contentment. This approach embodies a profound principle found in Buddhist practice. Compassion does not dictate behavior, it illuminates. It creates the conditions in which awareness can arise, in which the mind can witness its own patterns, and in which insight can blossom naturally. The father's guidance is not a set of rules, but a living example of mindfulness, equanimity, and care. His presence teaches what words alone cannot: the value of patience, the power of observation, and the quiet strength of love tempered by wisdom. Both sons, in their own ways, begin to respond. The elder son notices the subtle emptiness of his endless comparisons. The younger son starts to sense the fragility of his impulsive pleasures. Neither has fully mastered desire, neither has completely relinquished attachment, but each has glimpsed the possibility of freedom. The father's guidance acts like a gentle hand on the rudder, steering them toward reflection without taking away their agency. In the quiet moments that follow, the sons begin to practice what they observe. The elder son, mindful of his calculations and judgments, experiments with letting go of the need to be superior, noticing the relief in the heart when comparison ceases. The younger son, mindful of his impulses, pauses before acting, recognizing the subtle satisfaction that comes from awareness rather than immediate gratification. Each small step reinforces the lessons the father imparts, and slowly, a transformation begins to take shape. Here lies the essence of the teaching. Wisdom, when coupled with compassion, does not push, it draws. It does not demand, it invites. It does not punish, it clarifies. And in the presence of such guidance, both sons begin to see that the path forward is not about conquering one another, nor about acquiring more, but about cultivating clarity, kindness, and discernment in every action. The father's role, then, is not to fix what is broken, but to illuminate what has always been present: the potential for insight, the capacity for understanding, and the possibility of freedom from the chains of craving and attachment. He reminds them, without words of judgment, that the heart's true wealth lies not in possessions or achievements, but in awareness, compassion, and the quiet alignment of mind and action. And as the house settles into evening, as shadows stretch and the light softens, a subtle harmony begins to emerge. The sons, still learning, still imperfect, carry a new sense of direction. They feel, perhaps for the first time, that life can be navigated with awareness rather than grasping, with care rather than impulse, and with compassion for themselves and for one another. In this way, the father's wisdom does more than guide. It transforms the environment, the relationships, and the inner landscapes of his sons. It demonstrates a profound truth, that love informed by insight can awaken the mind, that patience can teach more than force, and that compassion, when skillfully applied, illuminates the path to understanding. And so, the story moves forward, carrying the sons toward deeper transformation. The lessons of desire, attachment, and impulse are no longer merely theoretical. They are lived, observed, and reflected upon, guided by the gentle hand of wisdom. And with each passing moment, the house breathes a little more freely, the hearts of the sons soften, and the path toward harmony and insight becomes clearer, leading naturally toward the next chapter of their journey. Change, as subtle as the morning light filtering through the windows, begins to settle into the hearts of the sons. The elder, once restless with comparison and ambition, and the younger, once driven by impulsive pleasures, now encounter a new awareness, a recognition that desire, when unchecked, leads only to dissatisfaction. Their clash, their folly, and their longings have not vanished, but they have become mirrors reflecting truths that each can no longer ignore. The elder son starts to notice moments where ambition loses its grip. In the fields, at the table, in conversation with neighbors, he pauses before comparing, before striving for recognition. He begins to see the futility of measuring worth externally, realizing that no achievement, no praise, no accumulation can bring lasting peace. Insight softens his heart. Awareness tempers his impulses. The restless fire of comparison begins to cool, replaced by a quiet curiosity about the nature of contentment itself. The younger son, meanwhile, learns restraint, not from punishment, but from observation and reflection. He notices the hollowness left by impulsive indulgence and begins to pause, even briefly, before acting on every whim. He tastes the fleeting pleasure of a moment and then watches it dissolve, understanding that the mind's craving cannot be satisfied externally. Slowly, he discovers that true joy is found not in accumulation, but in presence, attending fully to what is without grasping, without fleeing. Together, the brothers begin to recognize the patterns that have shaped their lives. Ambition, indulgence, comparison, impulsivity, all are seen for what they are: temporary, conditioned, and ultimately incapable of providing lasting fulfillment. The father's quiet guidance serves as a lens, allowing them to observe their own hearts with clarity. They begin to perceive that greed, whether expressed through calculation or indulgence, is a form of blindness, and that wisdom arises when the mind steps back, sees clearly, and chooses with discernment. This transformation is neither dramatic nor sudden. It unfolds in small, subtle ways: a shared laugh without envy, a decision made without grasping, a moment of contentment that requires no external validation. The elder son learns patience. The younger son learns reflection. Both learn that fulfillment is not something to be captured, but something to be recognized within the flow of life, in the quiet awareness of each moment. In Buddhist terms, this is the cultivation of prajna, wisdom born from direct experience and insight. It is the ability to see the impermanent, interconnected, and empty nature of all things, and to act with clarity and compassion. The sons begin to embody this wisdom in their daily lives, not as perfection, but as a growing capacity to choose awareness over impulse, discernment over craving, and presence over grasping. The transformation also rekindles their bond. Once divided by rivalry and envy, they now share moments of mutual understanding. The elder son's newfound patience complements the younger son's emerging mindfulness. Together, they navigate daily life with a subtle harmony, learning from one another and supporting one another's growth. The father observes this with quiet satisfaction, knowing that true change cannot be forced, but can be guided through love, awareness, and example. The household itself feels the shift. Where tension once lingered like a shadow, there is now a gentle rhythm, a flow informed by mindfulness and compassion. Conversations are marked by listening rather than assertion, actions by deliberation rather than impulsivity. Even the simplest tasks, tending the fields, sharing a meal, walking through the village, become opportunities for reflection, learning, and the practice of insight. Yet, the story does not suggest that all desire has vanished. The sons still feel longing, still encounter temptation, but they now perceive desire differently, not as a master to serve blindly, but as a signal to observe, to understand, and to act with wisdom. Their hearts are no longer bound by greed. They are learning to navigate life with clarity and intention. This is the profound truth of transformation. It is not about erasing human tendencies, but about cultivating awareness, understanding cause and effect, and choosing responses that lead to freedom rather than suffering. The elder son and the younger son, once trapped by their own cravings, now begin to glimpse the possibility of lives guided by insight, compassion, and presence. In the quiet moments of reflection, they notice the subtle shifts in themselves, the calm after restraint, the joy in simplicity, the satisfaction that comes from seeing clearly rather than grasping blindly. They recognize that true wealth lies not in possessions, not in fleeting pleasures, but in the cultivation of a mind and heart capable of understanding, empathy, and freedom. And so, the story continues, leading naturally toward the next chapter. A chapter where the sons, transformed by awareness and guided by the father's compassion, begin to embody the lessons they have learned. They move toward lives not dictated by greed or impulse, but guided by clarity, balance, and the enduring principles of wisdom and compassion. Time, gentle and unrelenting, weaves a new rhythm into the household. The turbulence of desire, competition, and impulse that once defined the sons' lives has softened into a quiet flow, a harmony born not from absence of challenge, but from the presence of awareness. The elder son, who once measured worth against others, now moves with careful attention to his own mind, choosing action with clarity rather than compulsion. The younger son, who once chased every fleeting pleasure, now pauses, observing the impermanence of desire before responding. Harmony, in this sense, is not merely the absence of conflict. It is the presence of understanding, the cultivation of balance, and the practice of insight in daily life. The sons have learned that true peace arises not from controlling the world or outshining one another, but from seeing clearly, acting wisely, and embracing the impermanent nature of all things. Every task, tending the fields, sharing a meal, engaging in conversation, becomes an opportunity to exercise mindfulness and to reinforce the principles they have begun to embody. The elder son experiences a subtle freedom in his daily routines. He no longer calculates every action for recognition or superiority. Instead, he attends fully to each moment, noticing the satisfaction in diligence, the depth in relationships, and the quiet joy that arises when comparison falls away. The restlessness that once haunted him is replaced by a mindful presence, a recognition that life, lived with clarity and compassion, is richer than any achievement or possession could provide. The younger son, likewise, discovers a new equilibrium. Impulses still arise, as they always will, but they no longer dictate action. He pauses, observes, and reflects, choosing responses that align with awareness rather than fleeting desire. The pleasures of life, once grasped desperately, are now tasted fully and let go without clinging. In this, he learns a profound lesson, that joy is not found in accumulation but in presence, acceptance, and understanding. Together, the brothers cultivate a renewed bond. The tension of rivalry, envy, and misunderstanding gives way to empathy, support, and shared insight. They recognize one another's struggles, reflect upon their own, and act with consideration rather than reaction. In the shared practice of awareness, they begin to embody the principles their father has quietly guided them toward: balance, compassion, and wisdom. This restoration of harmony reflects a universal truth. Human relationships are shaped not by perfection, but by the willingness to observe, understand, and respond with insight. Conflict is inevitable, desire is natural. Yet when awareness guides action, when compassion tempers response, and when wisdom illuminates the heart, even challenges become opportunities for growth and connection. The Father watches this transformation with quiet satisfaction. His guidance, subtle and compassionate, has allowed his sons to navigate their own paths, learn from consequence, and cultivate the inner clarity that leads to true harmony. He knows that wisdom cannot be imposed. It must be lived, experienced, and embodied. And now, in the daily life of his sons, that wisdom begins to resonate outward, shaping not only their hearts but the environment in which they live. In this restored harmony, the house breathes with a gentle rhythm. Work is approached with care and presence, conversation with attentiveness, and leisure with mindful appreciation. The elder son and the younger son, each transformed in their own way, move through life with a balance of intention and ease, insight and compassion. They have learned that the mastery of desire is not about denial, but about understanding, that the path to peace is not through external control, but through internal clarity. The lessons they carry are timeless. Desire, when observed, need not bind. Impulse, when tempered by awareness, need not mislead. Conflict, when met with reflection, need not divide. The sons embody a simple yet profound truth, that life, lived with wisdom and compassion, unfolds in harmony with the principles of impermanence, interconnectedness, and mindful presence. And as the sun sets over the fields, casting long, gentle shadows across the household, the harmony of the day becomes a reflection of their inner state. The father, watching silently, smiles not with pride of possession, but with the deep satisfaction of witnessing transformation, the subtle, enduring flowering of awareness, insight, and compassion in the hearts of his children. In this quiet, mindful harmony, the stage is set for the final reflections, the closing insights that will complete their journey. The sons, once divided by greed and impulse, now embody the fruits of reflection, patience, and wisdom. And the story moves gently toward its conclusion, offering not an end, but a continuation of practice, awareness, and living in accordance with the deepest truths they have discovered. As the day draws to a close, the house rests in a gentle, quiet rhythm. The sons, once consumed by desire, conflict, and impulsive indulgence, now move with awareness, clarity, and balance. The father, ever patient, has observed their journey, from innocence to folly, from conflict to insight, and finally, from yearning to wisdom. The door of this chapter of life closes, but the lessons linger, waiting to echo in every heart willing to listen. The story of the father and his two sons is not merely a tale of family dynamics. It is a mirror reflecting the universal human journey. Each of us, in one way or another, carries impulses, desires, and attachments that shape our actions, our relationships, and our sense of self. The elder son's ambition and comparison, the younger son's impulsiveness and indulgence. They are not isolated characters in a story, but reflections of tendencies within every mind. From their journey, we can draw several profound lessons. First, awareness is the doorway to freedom. Without the ability to observe desire and impulse, we are carried along by them, often to the detriment of ourselves and others. The son's awakening began the moment they paused to witness their own actions and reflect on their consequences. This is the essence of mindfulness, seeing clearly, understanding deeply, and choosing wisely. Second, wisdom and compassion walk hand in hand. The father's guidance was not harsh, nor was it forceful. He did not dictate or punish, he illuminated. He allowed his sons to experience the lessons of life directly, and in doing so, he showed the profound power of compassionate guidance. True wisdom arises not from control, but from understanding and care, both for oneself and for others. Third, desire and attachment, when unchecked, lead to conflict and suffering. The clash between the sons was inevitable, yet it became the very catalyst for growth. Conflict in this light is not merely a source of pain, it is a teacher. By confronting their own cravings, impulses, and envy, the sons discovered the impermanence of worldly pursuits and the enduring value of insight and reflection. Fourth, transformation is a process, not an instant achievement. Change unfolded gradually, in small, subtle shifts of awareness, in moments of reflection, and in mindful choices. The sons did not become perfect, they became present. They did not eliminate desire, they understood it. And in this understanding, they found freedom from its tyranny. Finally, harmony arises from clarity, balance, and mindful presence. The restored relationship between the sons was not the result of eliminating differences, but of learning to navigate them with insight and compassion. True peace, whether within oneself or in relationship with others, is cultivated through awareness, deliberate action, and the softening of grasping and judgment. As we close this story, the images remain vivid. The father's calm presence, the elder son's quiet reflection, the younger son's mindful restraint, and the household that now breathes in harmony. Each image carries a truth that transcends the tale itself, a reminder that life is a journey of learning, that wisdom is born from experience, and that the heart, when guided by awareness and compassion, can navigate the storms of desire and attachment with grace. And so, the door closes, but the teachings remain. They invite us to reflect. How do we respond to our own impulses? How do we navigate desire without being consumed by it? How do we cultivate awareness, compassion, and wisdom in our daily lives? Like the sons, we are all on a journey, sometimes reckless, sometimes cautious, but always capable of transformation when we choose to see clearly and act mindfully. May this story inspire patience in our struggles, clarity in our choices, and compassion in our hearts. The journey does not end here. It continues with each breath, each action, each moment of awareness. And if we carry these lessons forward, the door that closes today becomes a gateway to lasting insight, freedom, and harmony. And so, as the story of the father and his two sons gently reminds us, the path to wisdom and peace begins within. If this reflection resonated with you, take a moment to breathe, observe, and carry its lessons into your day. And if you'd like to explore more teachings, timeless stories, and practical insights from Buddhist philosophy, subscribe to Zen Buddhism Wisdom. Together, let's walk this path of awareness, compassion, and understanding, one mindful step at a time.